once you start to maximize a property, where is your best return of equity? Is it keeping it in that property, letting it continue to roll, or is it taking and buying a different property in a different market with better returns? And that's where, and so it always comes down to the numbers, but it's not always an easy conclusion to come to,
right,
because there's a lot that goes into that decision. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Moore, and we're back with a Whiskey Wednesday episode with Mr. Dave Savolich.
Hey, buddy.
What's up, brother?
How you doing?
Ready to go?
I'm ready.
Okay, guys, these are those short, sweet, to-the-point episodes, really turning into mostly, sometimes we talk about hot topics, but it's really turning into a lot of questions that you guys are sending in. So as a reminder, send us in those questions to support@vodyssey.com. We'll make sure that we answer them on an upcoming episode. It's a good chance for us to get some of those questions answered for you and, keep the conversation going to help you walk into this game with your eyes wide open. And so what do we got on the agenda today?
Well, we're right on the hills of, is it, I guess you say hills. Is that about almost time for that?
On the hills?
Yeah.
I don't know. On the hills, I think maybe that means it's over. On the hills?
Well,
no.
I think it's like we're on the hills of, well,
we're on the eve of Thanksgiving.
So
this is Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So
we're, I like every holiday. I was thinking this morning.
When we timestamp these, Jake's got to do a good job of getting these suckers out. So Jake, you got your work cut out for you on the editing. You better get them. I'm going to say it right now, live on our, I guess we're not live, but we're going to start getting these out like that when we record them, right?
Yeah.
Let's edit them, get them out.
And get them right out.
That's what really good podcasters do. And
let's do it.
So we better up our game.
Yeah.
I think that's Jake, you got it. We're going to get these out. So we are on the eve of Thanksgiving Eve.
So
tomorrow's Thanksgiving.
So let's talk about Thanksgiving traditions a little bit. What do you guys typically do? I mean, you're just pretty normal?
Pretty normal. Yeah, we're pretty traditional. Just we go do the we do the Thanksgiving dinner. Teresa and I, we have both of our families are local. So we've got both of our extended families are here in Utah. And so we usually do every other week and so every other year. So this year we're with her family. Last year we were with my family. And so we just kind of go back and forth every other year and spend the day. Usually starts at around 1 or 2 o'clock and spend the afternoon. What about you guys? What do you, anything different or special?
Yeah, kind of. We mostly, because my in-laws are from out of state and because our kids are so busy with sports and, they're usually playing ball and having something going on. Our in-laws usually come in to our house. And so, but then this year's with my mom and going up there. So my whole family. So yeah, it's fun. It's nothing fancy. We watch football, we hang out, we eat way too much food. Yeah. We usually, try to stick around and watch a movie as a family or do something fun. So that's fun. But what's your favorite food?
Turkey. Yeah, I just like like turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy, and stuffing. That's like it. Like awesome. Just give me those three things.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
my
about you?
My mom makes the best stuffing. I love her stuffing.
Yeah. Teresa does. My wife Teresa, she does. It's her grandma's recipe, and she started making it, and it is like she's in charge every year. Even at both families, her family and my family, she does all the stuffing, and she does all the pies. They just called me today, Teresa and White and Grace, and they said it's one of our favorite days of the year. It's pie day. Like they wake up and it's pie day, and they take the whole day and they make pies and they make way more pies than we need, and so it's fun. So that's a fun part of it. Yeah, they said that. I mean, I said pie day. That's your favorite day, like to make pies, and I'm like, hey,
turn the music on, TV to make pies, hang out. I think that's great.
Yeah, that's what they do. They throw some Christmas movies on that and they make pies all day.
That's awesome. We make sweet potato souffle and it is amazing. My wife's got this great recipe, and it's like a dessert.
Yeah.
I mean, there's enough sugar, brown sugar, and I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah.
You get that crispy top layer.
Everybody's got their kind of their family signature dish, right? That is like that they do really well.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we bring. Fun. So and you and I, we have a little tradition that we've added on over the years. We take our boys up the day after Thanksgiving and we go up in the mountain somewhere and have a big fire. We cook some brats. We have some food. We fish a little bit. We shoot some guns. Little cast and blast this year. So That's fun.
It's fun. It's fun. Yeah, we started doing that. How many years ago? We started taking the boys up doing that.
I bet it's probably been 6 or 7 years. Probably.
Yeah, and now it's just become like we have more people that want to join us. Yeah. And we're like, hey, there's a wait list now. We're like, hey, you gotta make sure that we've got. We started with me, you, and your brother Mike and his boys. And now we've had a friend come on. Right. George comes with us now. We got
Sierra's husband Madden. Now he's coming. He's going to come this year.
This is
this is his inaugural year
for Madden. We'll see. We got to see if he makes the cut.
He's out. He's not in.
Yeah, exactly. He's married in. He's not blood. He's not a guaranteed. He only gets one chance. Yep. So we'll see how he operates.
He better be on his best behavior.
Yeah, we'll make him make the fire. If he can't get the fire going,
exactly.
He might be out.
Yeah, we'll give him 2 pieces of wood and say, here you go.
Here you go.
Everybody in the years past has had to start it.
Exactly. Hey, this is good to know. I'm going to be thinking about this for what his initiation is going to be.
Exactly.
All right.
So, well, good. Well, let's jump in. Like you said, this episode, we have some really good questions. Okay. We've got really good response from emailed questions from our listeners, and so we appreciate that. So as you decide if you have any questions or you want something particularly talked about or addressed during these Whiskey Wednesday, email us at support@vodacy.com. We'll make sure we get them on here. And we, like you and I have talked, we want to make sure we're addressing things that are out there or pertinent that you guys have questions about in the short-term rental world. So the first thing that's come up a little bit is about existing property. So today you own a short-term rental property, and a lot of people ask, do I keep it? Do I sell it? How do I know it's going to continue to be a good investment, or at what point do I decide to sell it? Are there things that I should consider when making this decision, and should I do things to maximize it first before I decide to sell it? And what really is the potential?
Yeah. So one, as an investor, the biggest question we always ask ourselves is, what is the return on the equity that I have in properties? So what that means is, how much money do I have at play that is either equity, money in, and what is the return I'm getting on that, right? And then, so we want to calculate that. And then we want to say, am I getting the best return on equity in this specific property, in this specific asset, right? So that's the first thing we got to kind of think about, is saying, because when you're asking a question of, should I sell it? Should I keep it? It's like, what's the ultimate goal? Typically, it's what's the return I'm getting, right? And can I get a better return somewhere else? That would be an indicator that maybe I should sell it. Now, it goes back to then the question of maximizing, right? It's like, what should I do to maximize my property? Well, there's things that you can do to maximize most properties, but there's also revenue potential in every market, and you might be already hitting that max revenue potential in that market. So then it's just a calculation of, can I get a better return somewhere else and in a different market? And so I always look at bigger and better, right? And so typically we have properties that will max out. You and I have a property that we own together in St. George, Utah, and it's kind of been to where we've kind of maxed out that property. However, we didn't maximize the property, right? The property is kind of hitting toward a ceiling on, the revenue potential, but also a ceiling on the appreciation on that property. So our return on equity has started to slow down a little bit. And we feel like we've had these conversations saying, should we take it and buy into a bigger and better property that has more upside, right? Mm-hmm. But we also looked back and said, okay, we've had this property for 6 or 7 years now, and we set it up and it was doing really, really well, and it was standing out in a crowd because back when we set it up, we could do, have a model home looking property, and that stood out, right? And we had a bit of an experience, but not near the experiences that we do today. And now we said, okay, well, listen, we looked at the numbers and said we could actually maximize this property, put some money in, get a really good return on that investment back in, and up our revenue potential, because we realized that we were leaving some money on the table. The max in the market, we weren't hitting the max in the market now. That market has grown enough, and we just kind of stayed where we were at. So we made the decision to say, okay, we're going to go in and we're going to maximize the property. We're going to upgrade the property. We're going to tell a different story. We're going to articulate that story different. We're going to bring that property to life with custom artwork and all those different things that we do now. And that was the decision, because we're saying, okay, we could put X amount of money and get a better return on that and get a better return on our equity in the short term by doing that versus selling the property and buying bigger and better. So it's two different questions. questions, right? It's saying, okay, how much money am I leaving on the table right now in the market that I'm in with this property? And what do I need to do to go out and capture my unfair share of that business and get more money in that property, which is maximizing it? The next question is, once you start to maximize a property, where is your best return of equity? Is it keeping it in that property, letting it continue to roll, or is it taking and buying a different property in a different market with better returns? And that's where, and so it always comes down to the numbers, but it's not always an easy conclusion to come to,
right,
because there's a lot that goes into that decision, right? And really being able to understand those numbers, understanding the levers you can pull on maximizing an asset, being able to articulate what you have to offer, go get your unfair share of business. There's all these different things that have to happen for you to really make a good decision when it comes to that. And that's why we have these conversations all the time. It's not just as easy as saying, yeah, you should sell or yeah, you should buy. Right?
Well, and I think that's important. Is it's way more calculated than I think people understand.
Yeah.
They just say, well, should I sell it or not? Well, and I always go back and say, well, what are your goals? Are you making money? What are you going to do when you sell it? And, there's a lot to think about that I don't think people understand. And so I think that's great to have these conversations, because then it gives people some ideas of, like, okay, I really have some things to think about.
Yeah.
So.
And at the end of the day, investment decisions come down to the numbers, right? We're looking at data. We're looking at, revenue projections. We're looking at revenue potential, and we're making really, calculated decisions of how we or what the things that we can do to perform better. But again, it comes down to the numbers, and it's not hard in that it's not complicated. I say that all the time. It's just a lot of people really don't understand the process and be able to pull the right data to paint the right picture, to be able to tell the story for them to make the decision to move forward or not move forward.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Next question. A little bit of a hypothetical, maybe a little bit, off the spectrum here, but if Airbnb or VRBO goes down, could the short-term rentals market, could the short-term rental market survive? And how do we go about navigating that?
Yeah. So Airbnb, VRBO, probably not going to go down, but let's say just like happens on social platforms and everything else. What if they start shadow banning your properties, or they start to, your property gets buried and they start to favor some of these other properties that maybe you're not able to crack into, the exposure that you're wanting to on those properties. And so, or they just say, hey, listen, we're not going to let you operate here anymore. That happens, right? Yeah. It happens that you get banned for whatever reason. What if you got a bad review, or just something happened to where you can't operate on those platforms, or like to the question came, they completely went away. And so what happens then, right? A version of this happened right when COVID hit. If anybody was in the game when like prior to COVID, then COVID hit, you realize that these OTAs, they literally shut down. They said, hey, listen, we are not taking reservations, any reservations on the books. We're forcing refunds. We're going to give back all the money to the guests that booked these properties. Didn't matter what the policy was on Airbnb. And they said, there's no travel. We're not accepting reservations. We're sending money back. And people were like, okay, what do I do now? And this is when we really started to talk about why and how it was important to run down the direct booking road, right? And direct bookings is a strategy that is talked about all the time and very misunderstood. And there's a lot of people that are talking about it that don't have a lot of success and or experience with it. Direct bookings is a hard business because now you're in the business of building your own customer base and understanding how to not only generate those customers to raise their hand and say, I want more information, but also to be able to keep them, indoctrinate them into what you have to offer, keeping yourself top of mind with that customer base. It's running a business essentially, right? And then ultimately getting people to book your property. Yeah. But it's nurturing a customer base over time and being able to, one, generate them, nurture them, ultimately get them to take action and book your property. That's a whole different ballgame than what a lot of people think direct bookings is all about, which is just getting a really fancy website saying, hey, I've got my property, go check it out, book my property. That doesn't work. That's not how it works. And so in the absence of these major OTAs like the VRBOs and the Airbnbs that have done a really good job of creating a marketplace with millions and millions of eyeballs that we're able to go tap into and borrow those eyeballs, right? That's all we're doing. We're borrowing their customer base. We're paying them a fee to operate and get in front of their customer base. That's what we're doing. Now, if they go away, that's a pretty scary position to be in because now all of a sudden, if you don't know how to generate your own eyeballs and your own customer base, then you're going to be dead in the water, right? So does Airbnb or short-term rentals go away? The question is, if those go away, does short-term rentals go away? Absolutely not, right? The demand, the consumer demand is still there. The consumer demand doesn't go down when a platform goes down, or the eyeball, like those eyeballs are going to go somewhere, right? That the demand has been proven out in short-term rentals that this is an accommodation that the consumer likes and they're going to spend money on. And so as an investor or somebody who owns a portfolio of short-term rentals, I better understand how to get in front of those people that want to book and stay in properties. And we saw this when COVID hit. You and I had that property down in St. George at that time when COVID hit. And at the time, we didn't have a huge list, but we had like 80 people on the list. And we sent an email out and said, hey, listen, we're open. We're open for business. Right. Utah's not shut down. St. George is open. And immediately our calendars are booked, right? Yep. And so we still experience those same things. But because we had a customer base that we could go speak to and that we can go talk to, now we've gotten much better. And over years, being able to really like generate, like I've got properties that have customer, email lists and customers that have raised their hand about these properties that have 5,000 people on them. And so when I have a cancellation or we have a weekend open, it's pretty easy to fill those weekends, right? And so does it go away if those OTAs go away? Absolutely not. The demand doesn't go away but you have to better understand the back end side of building a business, and which is why I always tell people in any business that we talk about, the most valuable asset in a business is the customer base. Yeah. And you don't have a customer base if you're borrowing somebody else's customers to fill your property all the time. And that's why I think it's really important to run down multiple roads. And one of those roads should be a really successful and proven direct booking strategy, which is really building a list of people interested in your property and understanding what it takes to indoctrinate them into, why they should be listening to you, open your emails, listening to your communication, and then staying top of mind so that when they're ready to book a property in that area, you're the first person that comes to mind, right?
Well, and it's about, protecting yourself just in case something ever happened or something changed, one. But two is being aggressive on your strategy in going out and getting your unfair share of the business. Like being proactive about, hey, I'm not just going to stand by and just be like, oh, it's okay that I'm getting a few bookings. Like, let's go get more bookings. And that's a great strategy. So the direct booking and going after it. So good.
It goes back to our belief that, of self-reliance, personal responsibility. Nobody's coming to save us. It's our job to make sure that we're going to succeed, period. And that puts the ball in our court and saying, hey, listen, we're going to stack the odds in our favor and mitigate our risk as much as possible by building our own customer base. Yeah. And I promise, the biggest misconception out there is that somebody stays in your property, that they're your customer. They're not. If they came off of those major OTAs, you're borrowing their customers, and you're tapping into the millions and millions and millions of dollars that they have spent to build that customer base, and you're paying them a fee for that. You didn't go build that customer base. You better understand how to build your own customer base, and then life becomes really pretty fun because you have a lot of options and you don't feel tied to any specific OTA.
Yeah, good. All right, let's get another question here. How much automation is too much before we get away from true hospitality side of this short-term rental world? So, it's probably a little bit of a fine line of, hey, how much automation do we have, and how important is it to have that personal touch?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a really fine line, right? We're in the hospitality business. We're in the experience business, and we are all used to and sometimes immune to, like we feel kind of numb to automations. We're all involved in automations all day, every day, right? And so, and we're okay with it to a certain extent, right? We're okay with automation to a certain point. But if we are really, truly wanting to create and deliver the best experience possible, there's nothing that replaces an actual human touch. Yeah. And so I think that there's a lot of people that talk about, getting into the short-term rental game, and you've got all these tools and systems, and you don't have to be available for people, and you should build a business that's not tied to, you don't have to be tied to your phone. I agree. Build a business that gives you that lifestyle and financial freedom. I don't manage my own properties, but I pay people to do that, to be available, to be a 24/7 concierge. They're in the position to do that, and that's the business that they want to build. I am a huge believer that those people who choose to try to automate everything, they're the ones that are going to get their fair share of business, and their fair share of business isn't going to pay their bills, and they're going to be the ones that are bitching about the Airbnb bust and everything else, because what they did is they're trying to run down the easy road. and the easy road is not always the road that pays the most, right? And so, and it doesn't always deliver the best customer experience. And so, should automations be used? Absolutely. Delivering your guest book, delivering the rules, and delivering all those things that that somebody needs. But there's got to be an element of human touch and a 24/7 concierge type of a element saying, hey, listen, we're here for you. Anything you need, we want to make sure you've got the best experience, the best stay possible. And a lot of that has to come from multiple human touch points that are that people know are not automated. And it's important when somebody knows that something is not automated, immediately their perception of the experience is elevated, right? And so, and they also know when everything is automated, and they're just going to be like, well, listen, we're staying in a property, everything's automated, is what it is. It could be a nice experience, but it's not going to be a great experience. And so, we always talk about operating the very top of these markets. The top of the markets is where the money's made. If you want to make the most amount of money, it's not running down the easy road. It's the road less traveled, and the road less traveled is having a higher touch. We just had that meeting with the 1% Club, and we had 70 members in there that are operating the very top of their market, and a lot of them manage their properties. And I asked them, one of them previously was on my podcast, and I said, how long does it take you? Right? I know we can automate everything. We talk about this. How long does your property take to manage, to operate at the very best property in your market, in a major market? What does that take to elevate that experience? He said, usually around 10 hours a week. It's about 10 hours a week on the property. Yeah. He said, the issue though is the 10 hours a week is not, I get 2 hours every single day from 5 to 7 p.m. Right, the 10 hours that he's spending per week, that all those automations are going out, his 10 hours a week are custom messages and responses when people DM him or message him out, and he could be out to dinner, he could be in the middle of the workday. They're coming throughout the day every single week, and they add up to about 10 hours a day, but it's not scheduled 10 hours a day. That's what makes it hard. That's why I tell people, if you're going to manage these properties, you better be prepared for that customized human touch that is going to elevate the experience, because everybody wants the view, nobody wants to climb, right? Everybody looks and underwrites their properties. How many people send us properties and say, hey, I think this is going to be, I can operate in the top of this market. This property is going to do this, but they're not willing to deliver the experience that is going to be at the top of the market. Part of that experience, and this is why these underwriting tools struggle, they have no way to judge how you're going to actually communicate with guests. They have no way to judge how somebody else is doing that. They can judge the bedrooms, the bathrooms, how many people can host, the proximity of the property. They can judge a lot of those things. But a huge part of the experience is the communication. It's the number one thing about the experience that guests will comment on, that they will leave reviews on, is that communication. They don't leave 5-star reviews because you had great automations, right? They don't say, man, their automated messages were awesome. Right. They say, man, Dave was a great super host. Nice. He was amazing. Great. We talked to him, he helped with that. And they mention it by name. They don't mention automations. People know what automations are, and we're okay with automations. But I think a big, misconception or misguided advice, frankly, is that you should operate in this game and everything needs to be automated and you don't have to be tied to your phone all the time. That's not the game we're playing. Yeah. We're in the experice business. Part of that experience is communicating with people.
Yeah. Good. No,
long-winded. Sorry.
No, I like that. That was great. That was good. That's what we got for today.
Okay.
I want to just remind people that if you want to jump on with Shawn, take an opportunity to have a strategy session, talk about your goals, talk about your journey, email me at support@vodacy.com and we'll get you on Shawn's calendar. So that's an amazing offer, and you should take advantage of that. So get a chance to talk directly with Shawn. So
we started doing that a couple of weeks ago. It's been really awesome. It's been really fun for me. Jump back on, do a lot of strategy sessions. We have a strategy team, right? Mm-hmm. We have strategy coaches that play in this game. We do a lot of ads. We do a lot of things. And a lot of people come into our world that way. And we open it up for our podcast listeners saying, hey, listen, if you're listening to the podcast, mention that, send us an email to support@vodacy.com. It'll go to Dave. He'll get you my calendar link and we'll get on and sit down for, get on Zoom for 45 minutes to an hour and go through an actual strategy session of where you're at, where you're trying to go, and then trying to navigate if short-term rentals are a right fit to help you reach some of those goals. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. That's one thing that we always believe is we want people walking into it with their eyes wide open. We're not going to talk about just the good things. We're going to talk about the pros and the cons, which everything has. and including short-term rentals. So those are really good opportunities to jump on and have these conversations directly. So email us in, and then those of you that join us, we know how valuable your time is, and we do very much appreciate it. I know how it's a lot to be spending a half an hour with us, and we're going to continue to try to do our best to help you with the best information and relevant information. If there's things that we're missing, make sure you use that same email, support@odyssey.com, and send in your questions, right? And then if you know somebody else that would like to be a part of these conversations, share the show. If you're got more than 30 seconds, whatever platform you're watching or listening on, give us that thumbs up, like it, review it. And those things really help us grow the show. And we very much appreciate that as well. And guys, at the end of every episode, I ask you and leave you with that one challenge, and to pick that one thing you can do today, start building that life you don't want to take a vacation from. Cheers, my friends. Cheers, brother.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast. Share this with other people you think need to hear about it. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Hey Grace, is there a website?
Yes! For more amazing content and expert advice, visit Odyssey.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.